So I didn't know anything other than I had a sheet of paper that explained my birth mom and my birth dad. And it listed, like how old they were, how tall, eye color, hair color.
That story probably sounds familiar to many of you who are adopted. Of course, we know everyone's story is unique.
So we're spending this month sharing some of those stories because November is National Adoption Month.
Adoption is very personal for me. Growing up, I always knew that I was adopted. I was adopted at birth.
It was the 1960s, and Diana Lang's parents never made any secret about the way she and her brother came into their family. The siblings both started searching for their birth families as adults.
So what did your birth certificate show? Was it just redacted or blank?
Actually, yes. So all across the United States, you just get a totally different birth certificate. And I didn't have a copy of my original birth certificate because that was sealed in the state of Colorado. So my birth certificate that I had has Diana Lynn Lang and then both my adoptive parents, but then it showed which hospital.
Right, so you did have that. So that was the nugget of information.
I actually sent a letter, a request to the hospital, and asked for the medical records for baby girl Anderson, born on my date of birth. And miraculously, they sent them to me.
Wow.
And then I saw those and I was like, oh my gosh. So now I had, because it was the chart, it had my birth mom's name.
And where did that lead you? What'd you do?
To California.
Lang hired a private investigator who quickly found members of her birth family. The first contact was with her birth mother.
She told the intermediary, this was supposed to be sealed. There's no way that this person, should have, contacted me.
When the contact was made with your birth mom and she was adamant about not meeting you, how did that hit you?
That's a really good question. Initially, I think it was such a whirlwind. In some ways, it was maybe a relief. When she was dying of cancer, that was really hard. I was reaching out still because I wanted her to have peace.
It never happened, but Lang did connect with her birth father in 1993.
He was adopted at birth also.
So describe that revelation a little bit. How did he disclose that to you?
We talked for hours, and he had told me, he was like, oh, I knew you'd be fine. I knew it was the right thing, because he had had such a wonderful life with wonderful parents and siblings, and he was like, I always knew that this would be the best thing for you.
The words you used were that you were scared to reach out to your paternal grandparents.
Yes.
Why were you scared?
That fear of rejection, which I still carry with me today.
Most adoptees talk about that feeling of rejection, no matter the circumstances of their adoption. You've been studying this for a long time. Flesh that out for us.
Wow. Well, the research shows that there's still a stigmatization surrounding adoption.
And when Lang talks about research, she's not talking about what she's read. She's talking about what she's written. She has both a master's and PhD from Iowa State, and adoption is the focus of her studies.
Every single parent unequivocally said that they wish that there were more conversations, that it was less stigmatized. Even the kids who weren't even with their parents at the time were saying, I wish more people knew about adoption. It's a good thing.
Lang didn't really need to do research to know how they felt.
You also are an adoptive mother.
Yep.
Tell that story.
Oh my gosh, this is like such an awesome story.
In 2001, she and her husband had an 8-year-old son and were hoping to adopt their next child. A random encounter at the hospital where Lang worked made it happen.
The doctor called and said, well, a baby was born and it was a girl. I'm like, I think this this is my baby. And he said, but birth mom certainly does not want to parent. She can't take the baby home. She has no plan. Then I picked my son up from school. He's in the back seat, and I'm like, well, I have something to tell you. So we drove straight to the hospital, and so he got to see his sister, and then like maybe an hour later, we literally took her home. She was less than 24 hours old.
Now Blake is 26, Danielle is 18. The experience of becoming a mother through both biology and adoption added another layer to Lang's life story.
Describe what it's been like for you to end up on the other side of this coin.
Yeah, well, this is the part where I think it becomes more emotional. I mean, just the gratitude.
Gratitude for everyone who helped write this adoption story, especially the man who started it more than 50 years ago.
He always said, look what I started. Look what I started. And so then I always think of him in the back of my mind, like, yes, I'm keeping this going because this is what he started.
So the thing that Diana is talking about keeping going is the nonprofit that she started years ago. It's called Iowans for Adoption. Full disclosure, it is a group that I have been involved with for several years now. You can find more information about it on our website, whotv.com.
I was going to say, sounds familiar.
Yes.
Also, how remarkable to have these people open up to you, and she is not the last. We are going to hear from more of these remarkable people.
Yeah, and one of my goals with this was I really wanted people to hear from adoptees and birth parents.
Sure.
Because I feel like we always hear from adoptive parents, which is great, but that's not the whole story.
Right.
So on Wednesday, you are going to hear from a birth mom that I got to meet.
Oh boy. Thank you, Erin.
Yeah.
It's a circle of legacy.
Yeah.
It is so cool. Love this series. Temperatures today back up into the 40s, much like yesterday. Much like winter, though, in our 7-day forecast. I'll show you how low we're going to go.